All right, so the series for February is titled Death's Door. I don't think we should be overly worried or nervous about that because the premise is that's where we live. We live here at Death's Door, right? Hold on, let everybody settle down. Dum dum dee dum. It will be uplifting, I promise. I promise. I just like to come at it from the problem because there's no point in being happy about something only to realize a foundational crack and your stack of happiness is about to not clean over. So I like to start at potential cracks just to make sure I'm not wasting my time. So, all right, like I said, February, Death's Door. The premise is we live here at Death's Door. We are all of us going to die. We are all of us in the place where trouble lives. And so we better be good at it. Partly because the Lord has equipped us to deal with it, partly because we are who is supposed to bring this equipping news to everyone else. So we better learn how to deal with these things. And I think, praise God, we can. For our 4 weeks, we're going to look at something different that resides at death's door. The 4 weeks are fear, confusion, insult, and destruction. So today we're going to talk about fear. Okay. And we're going to start with some super discouraging descriptions of our call. Things that when I hear them, I don't feel warm and fuzzy. For instance, let's see, I have all of them referenced in my little cheat Bible here. John 16:4 is pick up your cross and follow me. I don't think I need to give you guys context for that. We're all familiar with that one here. Picking up a cross is, just in case you forgot, an instrument of torture and death. Yay! So pick that up and carry it along. Sounds horrifying. So blank number 1, cross, pick up your cross. The second one, let the dead bury the dead. That's in Luke 9:60. And it is related to call because it's Jesus, the guy's like, oh, let me follow you. But I got to go do this thing. And Jesus answers with, well, let the dead bury the dead. So somehow that's talking about horrifying priorities that don't make sense that are part of the call. So it's a little discouraging and scary. Offer your bodies as living sacrifices. Things that are sacrificed are killed. I don't know if you knew that. Yay, that sounds terrifying. Also, love the Lord your God with all that's a heart and a brain and a spirit and an arm for muscle. So heart, mind, soul, and strength. That scares me because I fail regularly to do that, but it's what I'm supposed to do. So those 4 things looked at in the right context can be horrifying. Also, for your long string of blanks there, also death, disease, hunger, pain, selfishness, war, evil, famine, whoever the evil one is, and my own heart exist here in this place. I'm supposed to live out those terrifying calls. All right, so be afraid, be very afraid. Class dismissed. Yay! No, I'm just kidding. Yeah? Sure, yeah. You could just write bad things if you want, but the ones that came to my mind were death and disease and hunger and pain and selfishness, war, evil, famine. So I guess that's hunger twice, but I did write it. And the last 2 are whoever the evil one is, with hyphens in between each word, and then my own heart exist here. So those are all reasons to be legitimately afraid. And I think if we whitewash over them and go, nah, then we're cheating ourselves out of some real answers that we can benefit from, and so could anybody else we may encounter. All right, so just kidding, I hope is that blank. And so we're going to look at one of the Bible's horror stories. Yes, it does have them. To see what we can learn about how to face or carry or handle our own fear. So we're going to look at Job. This is not a total Bible study of Job. Job is big and scary. So that's not what I'm doing. But I will tell you the general outline of Job and what I think are some things we can extrapolate from that. So Job is a good guy. The Bible says so, which is rare of it to say of people. He says he's a good guy and that one day the Lord is meeting with his council, whatever that means, and the accuser, not Satan or the devil, but the accuser, it's a title, it's not a name. I don't know what that means, but there you have it, is there also at this meeting. And God asks the accuser, for some reason that isn't told, hey, buddy, where you been? And he's like, oh, I've been, walking around to and fro on the earth. And he says, hey, have you noticed Job? Isn't he awesome? I like Job. And he's like, well, yeah, of course you do. He likes you because you're giving him all this great stuff. Let me take the great stuff. And God says yes, for some reason. He takes the great stuff. They have a repeat of this conversation. They take more stuff from Job. And the gist is that Job struggles with this. He's angry and he's hurt and he doesn't know what to do and he doesn't know where God is. He has these horrible friends that come and give him horrible advice. And then they have these horrible conversations, and Job writes in this, pretty much talks, a diary that says what you'd think it would say under these circumstances in large part. And at the end, God does come and be like, Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? And Job goes, oh, you're right. My bad. And then God's like, also pray for your idiot friends. And he does. Job in a nutshell. You're welcome. So, some things I think, let me ask you this. I think so, but let me ask, is it fair to glean from Job that? Four things. One, you absolutely cannot behave your way to safety or salvation. That seems to be true. We can extrapolate that from Job. Whatever else it may mean, it means that. And that is kind of weird. It seems like you should be able to. It seems like if there is a right way to live, that if you live it, you should get safety and salvation, but that isn't how it works. We'll address that more next week on confusion. Right now, we're just going to deal with it. I heard a metaphor once that I liked. The preacher preaching or whatever was saying that it's weird that you can't behave your way to safety or righteousness, to being good at life in a way that results in good for you. Because like if you want to be good at baseball, what do? You do baseball. But if you want to be good at good, doing good doesn't really accomplish it. Because righteousness isn't just doing good things. It's more than that. It's weird. So anyway, first thing, so we cannot behave our way to safety. Second thing that I think we can, I actually have a scripture reference there. So for number one, I said Job 1:8-12. I'm not sure I need to prove that one to you. We agree with it. So I have a few more Bible references that I'll just tell you if I don't read them to you. But on that first one, I wrote Job 1:8-12. Job 1:8-12. I think it's the conversation between the accuser and God deciding that they are going to take some stuff from Job, even though he's behaving well. All right, so 2, what do you think? I think we can somehow get this from Job and other places in the Bible, that love must be chosen. Otherwise, you have the robot issue and the whole free will thing. And Job 1:1 says, when the description of Job's, I didn't give that one an alphabet, but Job 1:1 says that when God is describing his goodness, he's saying, hey, Job is a good guy. He's saying he fears the Lord and shuns evil. That's a choice. He's choosing to do that. All right, number 3, love must cost. Romans 5:6-8. We'll be back in Job for that in a minute. But Romans 5:6-8. Let's see. For while we were still helpless, at the right time, Christ died for the ungodly. For one will hardly die for a righteous man, though perhaps for the good man someone would even dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love toward us in that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. I think First John, that's pretty much the whole book, is like, hey, but while we were bad, while we did this, he did this, he cost. Some other places, I think that you know how God's truths echo through life and creation, even if sometimes you're not pulling them out of the Bible, you confront them. I was thinking of, like when your child, probably a daughter, comes just because you're more protective of them and says, oh, I'm in love with whoever. he loves me so much, and they met 2 days ago. And you're like, right, he does. And the reason you're doubting is because it has cost him nothing. He has no chance to prove it to you. You do not know it. So there's I don't understand the full relationship, but there's something to do with love costing you something. Like, my kids love it when I tell them that I would walk on bloody stumps 100 miles to get to them if that's what it took. They love it. And I was talking to this with Danny in the office, and I said that, and he goes, yeah, and then if they saw it, how much more would they feel loved? Kind of Jesus in the cross, right? There's something about love, because there is evil or whatever, or because love is what it is, that you have to choose it, and it must cost, or it will cost. I'm not sure which one. I don't know if it must cost or if it will cost. You know what I mean? I don't know, but that's in there. I mean, easy come, easy go. We say that all the time, right? And Tim Keller says, he'll talk to people that say that they believe, oh, God is a God of love. I believe in love, not justice. He's like, that's great. That sounds nice. But what did it cost your God to love you? It cost my God quite a bit to love me, right? So we can count on it for that reason. Okay. So to love that, number 4, to love that way, a fair and necessary question becomes, so if you cannot behave in a way that's going to guarantee you any kind of protection, if love must be chosen anyway, and it's going to cost, then a fair and necessary question does become, would it be better to never be born? This is Job's question. He asks it all throughout Job chapter 3. I mean, several places, but Job 3 is really where he starts in on it. He has had both waves of bad things happen. His children are dead, all his riches and comfort in that way are absolutely gone. His wife has pretty much left him because she's like, curse God and die. So she's also a horrible friend, which probably hurts more than the regular horrible friends, assuming they have a spousal relationship like I have. I don't know how it was back then, whatever. But, so he's had that issue. The second wave has come. He is now literally sitting on a pile of trash, scraping his sores with broken pottery. His friends have come. His wife said the mean thing and left. And then his friends have come, and they've sat there with him in silence for 3 days, which is more than any of us would do at this point. You're like, those are good friends. And then the first thing he says after those 3 days is pretty much a whole chapter of why. And I think at this point in my thought process, I was like, hey, that is the would it be better to never be born, is genuinely entertaining that thought. That's not so much fear, it's despair, wouldn't you say? So I think we're going to talk about despair also, which is infinitely harder to deal with than fear. So our assignment just got a little tougher, but I think we can handle it. All right. So the question on today's docket, to be or not to be? Info needed to determine the answer to that question, to genuinely know for a fact if it would be better to not be born. You would have to know what you're going to suffer while you're alive, and you would have to know what comes after that to decide if it's worth it or not. God's attorney files a motion to dismiss, as the plaintiff does not have all the info needed to determine the verdict. They cannot meet the burden of proof, which is essentially what God says at the end when he's like, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? What's that? No, making jokes? Okay. So, there. Are you comforted yet? You don't get to decide. Does that make you feel better? If you're genuinely in despair, and you're genuinely asking in your heart, is this worth it? And God says, well, you don't know if it is or not. Do you feel better now? Do you? I wouldn't. I would not at all. Let's see. I wrote, let's see what they are. Job 1, 20 through 22. G. Well, that is not Job. Oh, yeah, it is. Job 1, 20 through 22. Let's see what that says. Then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. He said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. I know, right? But how? How does that get you peace? Or let's see, Job 14, 13 through 17. So this is neat. So I was listening to a podcast to help me with Job because I don't feel equipped to deal with it by myself. It would Chad Bird is the name of the minister guy. Actually, I found about him through Pam. She was doing his Bible reading program, and then I found his podcast and I enjoyed it. It was helping me out. And they were going through Job, and he came to this chapter, Job 14, 13 through 17. And it's in the middle of one of Job's laments, which is why man who is born of a woman is short-lived and full of turmoil. It's that chapter lower down. And he goes, it's like he thinks himself about the problem. This is the problem. This is the problem. And he's come up in his mind with a daydream of a solution to this problem. Listen to that. Listen to this. It says, "Oh, that you would hide me in Sheol," which is the grave. So, "Oh, that you would hide me in the grave, that you would conceal me until your wrath returns to you, that you would set a limit for me and remember me. If a man dies, will he live again? All the days of my struggle, I will wait until my change comes. You will call, and I will answer you. You will long for the work of your hands, for now you number my steps, and you do not observe my sin." Somebody have NIV? This is NASB. I like the NIV better. Let's try it. But I just thought it was super neat that someone really thoughtful and in the midst of trouble is sitting here daydreaming. What could fix this problem? Nothing but the Lord choosing to. "If only you would hide me in the grave and conceal me till your anger has passed. If only you would set me a time and then remember me. If a man dies, will he live again? All the days of my hard service, I will wait for my renewal to come, and you will call, and I will answer you. You will long for the creature your hands have made. Surely then you will count my steps, but not keep track of my sin. My offenses will be sealed up in a bag, and you will cover over my sin." It's like somehow he knows, you're going to have to do this, and it's going to have to make no sense, and it's going to have to, I guess, be the grave, and you're going to have to still see because you can, but not count my sin against me? How is that going to happen? And then shortly after that, he's looking at nature and he feels hope by some bird or something, and then immediately a mountain crumbles and he goes, "Oh, never mind." You're like, "Oh, poor Job, you're so close. That's right there." All right, so somehow they're comforted yet? It says, well, somehow Job was, I didn't write Job was, but satisfied. And because he trusted God, he somehow knew that the problem, that buck stops with God. Job can't fix the problem. If the problem shall be fixed, he somehow knows it will be with God. And he don't have Jesus yet, so I don't quite know why, but he trusts God to do it somehow, right? And I say, next page, guess what? Job had an understanding of who the Lord had been, of who he was being then. We have even more than that. We have more than Job did. So right there I put Job 19. I wonder why. Let's see what it says. Job 19, 25 through 27. "As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will take his stand on the earth, even after my skin is destroyed. Yet from my flesh I will see God." Keep going, okay. "Even after me, I will see God, whom I myself shall behold, and whom my eyes will see, and not another. My heart faints within me." Neat. I don't know how to get there without Jesus, so let's talk about that. We have more than Job had. I don't know what he had, to be honest with you. Where were you when I set this up? It's not super comforting for me. It should be. If God is good and he loves me, it should be. But we have even more than that. Hebrews 12, 1 through 3. Here we go. "Therefore, since we have so great a cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us also lay aside every encumbrance and the sin which so easily entangles us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. We have his answer to that same question about us. Is it worth it? Because love has to be chosen and it has to cost, that's not just for us. He chooses it. It costs him very much. Cool. And then Revelation 5:1 through 10. Is that what I said? Yeah, okay. I saw on the right hand of him who sat on the throne a book written inside, and on the back sealed up with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the book and to break its seals?" And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the book or to look into it. Then I began to weep greatly because no one was found worthy to open the book or to look into it. And one of the elders said to me, "Stop weeping. Behold, the Lion that is from the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has overcome so as to open the book and its 7 seals." And I saw between the throne with the 4 living creatures and the elders a lamb standing, as if slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent out into all the earth. And he came and took the book out of the right hand of him who sat on the throne. And when he had taken the book, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, each holding a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are prayers of the saints, and they sang a new song. "Worthy are you to take the book and to break its seals, for you were slain and purchased for God with your blood men from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests to our God, and they will reign upon the earth." So do me a favor now. After Revelation 5 through 10, it says we have his beautiful example. Cross that out. I shouldn't use that word, right? Proof. Because Jesus as example is horrifying. As do this. What? That's terrifying. I don't like that. It's not helpful. But Jesus is proof. Jesus is proof that the Lord has answered this question about us. Jesus is proof that he did it. Jesus is proof that love wins in the end. That's exciting. So living out our question, the question being, if insert circumstance here, do I choose God? So if I have to seemingly not have a spouse because there's no one to marry appropriately, do I still choose God? Or if I will lose all business contacts and potentially not be able to provide for my family, do I choose God? If insert your circumstance here, do I choose God? We only have the option of answering our question because he already answered his question of us. So that's the green underneath there. If only possible is only possible because the one who knows the end and all mystery answered his question of us, and he decided we are well worth it. And therefore, despair has no power with us because nothing that happens here can separate us from his love. And we know it's love because he chose it and it costs quite a bit. It is his love and we can't be taken from it because Job was right. I wrote Job 19:25 through 27, but I didn't give it a letter. So let's see what that says. Job 19:25 through 27. Oh yeah, as for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and that last that he will take his stand on the earth. Even after my skin is destroyed, yet from my flesh I will see God. Romans 8:18 through 39. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the anxious longing of the creation waits eagerly for the revealing of the sons of God. Oh, I got a big one here. Okay. For the creation who's subject to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself also will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole creation groans and suffers the pains of childbirth together until now. And not only this, but also we ourselves, having the first fruits of the spirits, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting eagerly for our adoption as sons, the redemption of our body. For in hope we have been saved, but hope that is seen is not hope, for who hopes for what he already sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, with perseverance we wait eagerly for it. In the same way, the Spirit also helps our weakness, for we do not know how to pray as we should. But the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groaning too deep for words. And he who searches the hearts knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the image of his Son, so that he could be the first among many brethren. He could be proof. And these whom he predestined, he also called, and those whom he also called, he also justified, and those whom he justified, he also glorified. That what then shall we say to these things? If God is for us, who is against us? He who did not spare his own Son, but delivered him over for us all, how will he not also with him freely give us all things? Yeah, but I'm still scared of stuff. So I do not despair. I don't have to despair. I am free from that. Because no matter what comes here, it doesn't stay. It has no power. But I am still afraid of things. I say this to Coraline, my older child, all the time. I say, I am not afraid of being dead, but dying sounds pretty horrible. Not excited about that. That seems scary. But I think we have a way to deal with this, and it's the joy set before me idea. And the metaphor that pops into my head is a mother bear with cubs, and here comes down the mountain a gigantic male grizzly. Do you know what they do to cubs? They eat them. They eat them. And so it is you've heard like mama bear. You know why? Because when she sees the male coming, she will try to get her cubs away. But if she cannot, she will face the teeth and the claws. She will. Why? For the joy set before her. In a very animalistic way, I get it. They don't have feelings, whatever. But still. You know what I mean? And we have that same thing. We can ask ourselves, or we can form the way we look at life, like, oh, poor me. It's not fair. I have to deal with this, or whatever, right? And that's true. Or you can move out from love in defense of something you care about, right? So that makes it easier, I think. Everyday question: if life with God is your cubs, do you face the grizzly, and why? Because therein lies the way to not fear the teeth and the claws. Also, if God loves us, okay, so we've decided that we must answer our question in life to participate in love. God has answered his, does it daily, did it in a big way with Jesus, and still does. So if to participate in that love, we also have to choose it, and it will cost, right? Then everyone must answer this question. That's the way to glory. You have to face it. You can't hide it. And that's one thing personally to deal with. You have to deal with that. You have to have that mindset. But it is harder for me sometimes to think about how that plays out into my relationships with people I love and the way you want to help people with their problems. Because if that's true that I have to do it for glory, then everyone must answer this question. So loving others is equipping them to answer their question and never protecting them from answering it. Now, how you do that, I don't know. Good luck. But it is an important part of loving people. That's what like parents have to do that. Like parents have to force their kids to do hard things or they won't ever, right? Because who wants to? Yeah, nobody. So I think we are free of despair because we can trust the Lord. He has shown us his character. We have proof. Despair doesn't have any power here. And we are well equipped to deal with our fear because we have something worth it that's pushing us to the teeth and the claws. Yeah? What do you guys think? Comments? Questions? Challenges? Oh, thank you. Thank you. They're just complimenting me shamelessly. I will take it. Approved. Cool. Well, that's what I had prepared today. Next week, we're going to talk about how we deal with the confusion that can come in living here at death's door while we try to live out our call. Thanks, guys.